And police say a man in a truck crossed the median and smashed head-on into a Lincoln Navigator. The Navigator burst into flames, trapping the driver, Susan Bowman, behind the wheel of her burning SUV.
I saw what appeared to be an explosion in front of me.
We could see it from about a good mile away.
It looked like a bomb had went off somewhere. There was debris everywhere.
I could just see the smoke and everything going crazy, and just hear screaming when I got out of my car, and I wasn't close to it.
It was just horrible seeing a car burn and having somebody in it burning up.
Like I said, I was losing my field of vision because of the smoke was so bad, and I could just imagine what was, going on inside the vehicle.
Just burned beyond any sort of recognition. I've been in combat, and I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen somebody burn so bad and survive.
There was no way this woman was going to survive.
As far as I knew, that was the end of the story.
I said, you're in God's hands now.
Surprise! Here I am, live and kicking.
And then also it's handy for carrying my Kroger sacks. Those figures.
It is okay.
For sharing your story, that was absolutely inspiring. Really. No problem. No problem.
That's just what I want people to know, that you can get through anything.
I lost my legs. I lost the life I knew. Partway through my recovery, my husband of nearly 20 years left me and took the family I loved away from me. I didn't know what I had left to live for. At one point, I even tried to take my own life. It wasn't easy getting where I am today, but I thank God every day that I did.
When you were younger, you never thought anything could touch you. When you were younger, you never thought anything.
I love shoes. They're beautiful. I just wish I could wear them.
Yeah, so she's an inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of folks.
And you should see it when I go into a department store. I have to ask someone, would you mind grabbing me those red stiletto heels up there? And they get them down, and people in the stores, they just like, bless her little heart. She doesn't know she doesn't have any feet.
She just takes a challenge and goes on with it.
We all could learn from her. She's fought that war and she's won.
July 13th, 2005. It was a Wednesday. It started like any other normal day. Make my rounds again to pick up my kids. Kids were discussing where they were going to go eat. And that's the last thing I remember.
The Chevy Suburban she was driving was hit head-on by a truck that crossed the median and into her lanes. Witnesses said she had her kids in the car with her. There were 2 boys in the back and a teenager in the front. Other people stopped their cars to help. They saw the SUV on fire. They rescued the kids but could not get to the woman who was pinned.
I was a 911 operator at that point in time. I received a call from Miss Bowman. When I answered the phone, I heard screaming in the background, which was her. She was telling me that she'd been involved in an accident, which her kids were trapped.
Wilson County Emergency Management, what's the location of your emergency? I've been in a wreck. My car's on fire. Get my kids out of the car, please. Okay. How many kids are in the car?
Miss Bowman never once told me that she was pinned in herself. I kept telling her I had somebody en route to her. Miss Bowman still never told me that she was pinned in herself until I got that first unit on the scene. She come back over my radio and transmission and told me that the driver was pinned in and on fire. That's when I began learning that Miss Bowman, that I was talking to on the phone, was pinned in herself and burning. Now her kids were out of the vehicle, that bystanders had pulled them out. And the whole time she was set on getting her kids out of the vehicle, not herself. Lord, I'd sent just multiple units to that accident. I sent everything I had that day.
I guess you can say just hearing the call come out on the radio, it gives you that sense of saying, all right, this is not going to be good.
And they were all feeding us information over the radio. And what the captain said was, whatever you got to do, get the truck right here, right now.
The two boys was crying. I knew it was on fire and I had to get them out. So I pulled the little boy out of the driver's side in the back. Another guy, he come across and pulled the other little boy out.
Pulled one of the children out through the window, and she was standing with the other two.
I'm just amazed how many people stopped to help, and not only helped, I mean really helped, used their heads and acted very quickly.
We handed the babies off, and then I went back to the window to see if I could help Susan. The sound she was making, I had never heard before. It was what I call a wailing, and it just cut you to the bone. And I said, I'm about to see this woman burn up and lose her life.
The fire extinguishers came from all directions, thanks to a retired Nashville firefighter who asked a truck driver for help.
Oh, more than that, I said, get on your radio and call your friends and tell all your trucking friends to bring their fire extinguishers.
I went back to the first 18-wheeler that I could see that was stopped and asked him, did he have a fire extinguisher? And he said, yes. I said, can I have it? I went back and used that one pretty quick, and the fire just kept coming back. It would go out for a few seconds, and it would come back.
We were spraying everything we could. We'd spray it out, and it would just light back up. What are we going to do? You know, she's sitting here burning, and we can't put it out.
The fire from the Navigator, the fuel was leaking from the guy that caused the truck. His fuel was leaking down to the Navigator.
We stood back and looked, and there was gas all the way around the area that we were standing in.
And about that time, this van pulled up ahead of my telephone van. And he jumps out and he said, I work for a fire extinguisher company.
A fire extinguisher salesman of all things there on the scene, which is a blessing, and everyone participated on trying to keep the flames down until the fire truck could arrive.
We were the first emergency piece of equipment to arrive on scene. We could see that she was pinned inside. Without thinking too much about it, we both climbed in to see if we could see where the fire was coming through.
Phone number. She asked about her kids. I said, there's no kids in the car. There's nobody in the car but you. And I saw that the dashboard was jammed down upon her legs, and she started screaming. When I saw fire coming up this left side of her body and in between her legs. And I remember screaming out, she's burning up. Hey, she's burning up. And I had tried to cover her face and cover her hair so her hair wouldn't catch on fire and her airway wouldn't burn.
And when I sprayed that water, I noticed that there's still fire under the vehicle. So I immediately switched my direction. After I got all the fire off of her, the fire comes right back to the cab.
That fuel pump was still pumping fuel. It was a fuel-fed fire.
When they knocked the fire down, he and I both crawled back inside, and this was the first time we were able to really tell just how horribly mangled she was.
And I remember that arm just flopped over, just bent, and I couldn't get her out. And I said, she's jammed up in here. I said, we got to get her out.
And as I looked down behind her back, I could see as I was pushing her body forward that her skin and the leather of the seat had melted together. The whole time she's screaming, please put water on my legs. Please put water on my legs. The fire was out, but she thought she was still on fire.
But when we pulled her out, I looked at her legs, and the right leg, the muscle was burst, like you would think a bratwurst that is overcooked, how it burst through the skin.
And the fire chief grabbed me and said, your patients are in the ditch. Susan's 3 kids, they're laid out there in the ditch, and bystanders are holding C-spine, and they're all they're laying there. I got to the daughter, and she was a little more talkative, and she could tell me a few things. She said her stomach hurt, and when I went to palpate her stomach, it was very, very warm. They were calling for helicopters, and eventually someone come around and said, what have you got? And I said, I've got 3 juvenile patients, and all of them are in various stages of shock. I said, this one here has a hot belly, I said, if there's a seat on that bird, I would definitely like her to have it. And so
I walked all the way to the helicopter with it. I could tell she was starting to kind of go into a greater stage of shock. She wasn't responding as well as she was.
I told Brian, I said, I doubt she'll survive.
And the next thing I remember is hearing like really loud thumping. So it was like the helicopter, and I got lifted up into it with my mom, and then I heard them say that like, we're losing her, and I was like, my mom's in here with me. And so I didn't really know what else to do, so I like held my arm up, and I was doing I love you in sign language like over and over and over again, because that's like all I really knew what to do.
She died once in the helicopter. She died once in the elevator at Vanderbilt. And then she died again on the operating table at Vanderbilt.
Life Flight helicopter brought 2 of the patients here to Vanderbilt Medical Center, and the 3 children, well, they were brought here to the Children's Hospital here. They're in stable condition tonight. The woman that was in that car with them, the driver of that SUV, she's in critical condition, and then the man...
And I remember thinking, you know, Susan had a wreck in 1987, a closed head injury, severe closed head injury, and was in rehab for months. I remember saying, I can't do this again, because I thought I'd lost her that time.
And I got the call from her aunt that she'd been in an accident, a head injury, not sure she was going to make it. She wanted people that she knew really well to come and talk with her.
You know, when you asked me initially what's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the name Susan Bowman, is somebody who I didn't think was going to survive.
Patients came through, and it was some of probably the most graphic, some of the most intense wounds and burns of any patient I've taken care of.
We knew then that they had taken one leg already. Steve had come back from the Children's Hospital. A doctor came out and asked to see he and I, and took us to this little room and told us that they needed to let us know that she may not make it.
Like I said, I've taken care of some horrible circumstances, and I usually stay pretty optimistic to the end. But in Susan's case, you know, I was really disheartened. And there was some real struggle about, you know, the family, you know, we don't really want to take the legs. We clearly don't want to take the legs either, but it gets to a point is are we going to die, try to save a leg that someone is never going to use again? You know, our priorities are you going to save life, save limb, and save function. And in cosmetics is always last. And if you go through that kind of algorithm, you usually will get a good functional outcome.
We wondered if she knew that her legs were gone.
And I said, why am I in here? And she said, you were in a car wreck. I said, well, let's go home. And she started crying. And my hand happened to hit the end of my short leg. And I said, did they take my leg off? And my mom started crying. She said, yes, they had to take your leg. Well, my other hand was on my thigh of my right leg. I said, well, you know what? I have one leg, I can hop. And when I said that, my mother lost it because I didn't know they had amputated that leg too.
And I remember I crawled up in the bed beside her and just laid there and held her. She was always wanting to have a family and a home, and Steve stole her heart. She had this first wreck January the 1st of '87 and married Steve the 14th of November. She was happy, really happy.
Before the accident with my children, I was a mom.
She was a stay-at-home mom. That's what she loved to do, is take care of her children.
Steve and I had a very good relationship. We owned horses, went to horse shows, cutting horse shows. I love to ride those, I love to watch those. We went to horse shows, we went fishing, we had a fishing pond out back. We went skiing in the wintertime. I never graduated from the bunny slope.
We were like that stereotypical family. Like she was like the soccer mom who drove us around. Like it was just like fun. Like, you know, family holidays, everyone came over to my house, and for Christmas we did the big tree and then the family tree. And
we had a horse trailer that had an apartment on the front that slept 6, and then it carried 5 horses. In my mind, I had a fairy tale life. After those 4 months, I was sent to Nashville Rehab Hospital for therapy. And I went there and only stayed there 2 weeks. Because I didn't want to do it. I didn't care. I weighed 91 pounds. I hurt. I wanted to be dead. That's all there is to it.
I first met Susan. I was working in occupational therapy in a rehab hospital. I first heard the screams, and then I was told that I needed to work with this young lady in this private room, and she'd gone through a pretty tragic accident. And I'll just be honest with you, I was scared to death.
Scared, you know, it was scary, and I knew it would take the whole team to figure out how to help her.
I knew from then that we had quite an extensive rehab recovery process. There we would lie her on her back and then do the aggressive stretching.
And I remember the therapist grabbing my legs and pulling me apart like a chicken, like they were splitting the wishbone. It hurt. Oh God.
My job that day was to just try to help her do what I could as far as just moving a little bit, working on some balance. But even that was hard because her burns were so severe that just to touch her anywhere was excruciating. To move her was excruciating. You know, there's not a place on her body, what was left of her body, that didn't hurt. We would rock back and forth, and she cried, and she cried, and she cried.
I didn't want to hurt anymore. I didn't want to try anymore. Like I said, I didn't want to be on this earth. So I went to the nursing home. And when I went to the nursing home, I got my little room, and I laid in that bed, and I wouldn't let them turn on the lights. I just wanted everybody leave me alone. I didn't need food, I didn't need water. Just leave me alone and let me die.
But she said, Dorothy, I want the blinds closed. I said, but Susan, I'm not closing these blinds. I'm going to open them. I'm going to open them during the day, and at night, your blinds get closed. I said, that's it, point blank. I don't have nothing else to say about that.
She was at my nursing home where I work a year, and I think being there, everybody there already knew her.
Well, because we had known Susan for so long, very close, you know, more or less like a family. And then to have her come here in the condition that she was in, with all the burns and the amputations, it was very hard to take care of her emotionally without getting emotional.
My grandmother was at the nursing home with me. My grandmother and my great uncle Floyd.
I think that she felt safe here, and you know, she knew that she was going to be well taken care of, and I think that eased her mind.
The dressing changes every day. It would take about 4 or 5 people in there holding her and trying to position her just right and perform individual tasks just right so that it was not excruciating.
And sometimes she'd be crying. I said, just grit your teeth, Susan. It's going to be all right. But we got to do this.
So anyway, she had a lot of pretty sad days, pretty gloomy days. And like I said, during that point, she was losing her hair. There were the dressing changes daily that were so horrible. And then the therapy on top of that, and the lack of support from her husband. He was pretty determined to believe that she was not putting forth her best effort.
For instance, her husband used to come. He would never come on the inside. He would never come when we was dressing on. He never did.
Why don't you tell us your name of your kids and.
I have Allie.
Who's the teenager?
She's 14. And then I have Skylar, who is 11.
Yes.
And Austin is 6.
They'll come, check on their mom and say, "Mom, I love you. Keep it up, Mom."
That he decided he was not coming back, that she was not trying hard enough to rehabilitate herself, and that it was pretty much destroying him and the children.
I was supposed to get up out of that bed when I weighed 91 pounds and couldn't stand anything touching me. I should have bucked up and gone on. If I had just died, then it would have been much easier on everybody else, because that's closure. I would have been the hero mom that saved her children the day in the fiery crash.
The thing that she cared about most, being a mom, was taken away from her. So she lost it as a result of what happened in the long rehabilitation process that she had to go through.
She tried as hard as she could. I've never encountered a situation this difficult and never seen someone as brave.
These elderly people they would get up in the morning and they would say, "Can we go to Susan's room?" They loved her.
All these old people, they became my grandparents, my family.
I think she's a wonder lady, really. Myself, I do, yes ma'am. And then many persons would have given up, but they just thrown their hands up.
I don't remember the day or time, but some point something told me that I was living and I wasn't going to spend my life in a nursing home.
She had a little sliding board with plays there, and she just slide herself in that chair. That's when I knew that she was getting better, and I told her I was proud of her to keep it up.
But I got better and I got stronger, and I decided I could go back to Nashville Rehab to learn to take care of myself so I could go home.
The second time, I was really shocked to even hear that she wanted to come back. There's a whole grieving process that goes with losing a limb, with accepting what's happening to your body. And she had about a year to go through that process.
I asked somebody, who's that? And they said, "That's Susan Bowman." I said, "You're kidding." Susan Bowman, last year, 91 pounds, didn't want to live. That's Susan Bowman.
No, I had things to do. I wanted to go back home to my children and my husband, and I had to learn to take care of myself. So I went back to Nashville Rehab to learn to take a shower, learn to change my colostomy bag, put my clothes on, just everyday stuff, learn how to cook.
My job was to help Susan become as independent as she could with what she had to deal with. Susan did so well the second time around in our rehab center that she graduated early. And we had this big meeting to discuss her discharge plans and what she'd need at home. And that was Susan's plan. She was going home and resume her role as a wife and a mother. And there were just obstacles, as I recall, in that meeting, and it didn't look like that was going to happen.
There came a day he comes down and comes to see her, and he told her that I'm selling the house, the farm, and I've got this lady that's going to come, and we're going to have a sale, and I'm just going to sell everything. Everything. So this sale of all of her belongings, all of their belongings, was going to happen in 48 hours. She had a quilt that her great aunt handmade for her as a wedding gift. She had her wedding dress that we had treated and stored in one of those boxes. That was gone.
My plans were to go home, but however, Steve had since sold our family home, and the kids were renting a smaller house, and they didn't have really room for me in that house. So I went to live with my mother, who also lived in Lebanon. And that was okay, they didn't have room. I'd still be closer for them to visit. And, they come over to Mom's anytime. And then, when they got ready to build or go move somewhere else, then I would go live with them. He's in construction. I said, build the wheelchair ramp. I'll find somebody to come and help me every day, and I'll go rent a hospital bed. Bring my hospital bed. And I'll stay in the living room because Steve didn't want to share a room with me.
First, I think he was presenting to her a picture of what all he was going to do for her. We're gonna have the house fixed for you, or we're gonna do this. And he was always holding out hope, I think, that they could go back and be a family. And I think if he hadn't have done that, even though I hated he didn't mean it maybe, but if he hadn't have done that, I don't know what would have happened to her.
I called him back and I said, okay, I've got my help lined up, and I've got the hospital bed coming over, and I said, I need you to get that wheelchair ramp built. And that's when he told me, his words to me were, I can't do this right now. And I said, do what? All you gotta do is build the ramp. I can't take care of you. And with that, I said, you don't have to take care of me. I have help lined up to come take care of me. And I can take care of myself during the day. And he said, no, just can't do that.
And that's when Allie's trouble started. Allie especially was just immediately treated like an adult. She was 13 years old and expected to babysit, help with homework, do the wash, just be an adult all of a sudden.
That's when I started taking on the mom role, literally. Austin was very angry. He would throw large semi-truck tours down the stairs at you. Skylar, I just think he got neglected. Eventually you just learn smile in front of everyone, because everyone asks, it's a small town, are you okay, is your family okay? And eventually you're just yeah, everything's fine, But it wasn't. It's just really hard to deal with, and then she wanted to come home, and it was just going to be weird. And I think at that point it was so established with me, my brothers, and my dad that another change again, I just didn't know what I wanted. I don't know what I wanted.
It wasn't fair that Allie got put into the position she did, having to become a caretaker when she needed to be taken care of.
I never saw her do it, but I got to noticing when I'd go to her bedroom to clean that there were always scissors or a kitchen knife in her closet.
Started cutting my wrist so I wouldn't have to feel the emotional pain anymore. And no one helped you. Everyone's just trying to keep a family together. I knew my dad, but not really, I guess it was my mom was one of my, she was always there. And then just one day she just wasn't.
He did not want me to do things with Susan or for Susan. And he more or less gave me an ultimatum. If you work for her, you're not going to work here. So I came to Susan and talked to Susan about it.
And she called me crying about it. And I told her, I said, Angela, there's no question. You have to go be with my children, because you are the only thing in their lives that have not changed since the accident.
I did everything for them. Except the one thing that they needed most, and that was bring their mama back home.
She always put their interest above hers. she did not want to burden them with what she was going through, and she wanted them to live normal lives to the extent they could.
Even with knowing that her kids were going to be living with her husband, they weren't going to be there under her roof, she always said, I have to do what's best for the kids. It's selfish of me to fight that.
Steve, he brought the kids a couple times, and I fixed dinner once or twice, and then just for us to be together. That stopped. I quit hearing from him. He never called me in the day or anything. Steve was pulling away, but I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted us to be a family again. When I moved into this condominium all by myself, and when I first moved, I thought that Steve and the kids were going to move in with me, and I was wrong.
It's when he came and asked me would I mind leaving for a few minutes. He wanted to talk to her, and he informed her he was divorcing her.
When my marriage was over, it devastated me. I hated that day. I hated Steve with all I had. There was nothing I couldn't change. I hated my life. I couldn't change anything. I couldn't change the way people looked at me. I couldn't change the way Steve felt about me. I couldn't change what I'd done in the past. I couldn't change that. I didn't try. I couldn't, and I just, that day, I thought, what the hell? I said, and I asked God, I said, I'm doing this, God. I don't know what the hell I'm here for. What have I got? I have nothing. I have nothing. My husband left me. My husband of 20 years left me. My children left me. My friends, they're still there, but and people look at me funny. And, I have nothing. My life was my children. So, take them. I took all of them. Every last one of them. And then I picked up the phone and said, Steve, take the kids. Go find you somebody and be happy because I'm out of here. And I hung up that phone and I went laid my chair back and prepared to fall asleep. Never wake up.
Mm-hmm. He called and told me that I might want to check on Susan, and I remember him saying, and she's upset, and he said, but I don't know why. He said, we had a really good conversation, but I just thought maybe you might want to check on her.
That tone dropped to her address, and at that point in time I didn't know where she lived. I just knew I was going to somebody's house that was trying to harm themselves. We waited for 11 police to clear the scene, and
the policeman came to my door. He said, Miss Bowman, you need to open this door. I said, no, sir, I'm dying today.
My exact words was, Miss Bowman, what are you doing? Now apparently she recognized who I was.
Brandy was the 911 operator the day of the accident, the girl that I talked to. I'll do anything in the world for her. She saved my kids' lives.
I told her, I said, you're going with me because you're not dying today.
I opened the door, but I wouldn't come out or roll out of the bedroom. And I said, Brandy, for you, I'll do it. I'll do anything.
She said, only for Brandy, I will. We put her on a stretcher and we went to the hospital.
I coded out before we got to the hospital, and they brought me back.
And I remember her looking at me and just saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Right after that, she coded again, so that I think she knew that she was on her way.
And talking about walking with us through our darkest hours, God was with me that day I tried to kill myself.
Right. And she had to stay there, at the psych unit there for supposedly, I think 3 days, he did not come to visit her.
You have to go to these therapy sessions and everybody tells their feelings of why they did it. Well, I know why I did it. My husband left me. He don't want me anymore. My children don't want me anymore. That's all I had. What am I here for? That was my life. In that moment, I hated everything about my life. And I'm thinking, you know, I hate this. I hate being alone. I hate not being a mom. I hate what my life was. I hate not having legs. I hate not, you know, and I got to thinking, all I said was hate. I hate when I think about the good stuff. And then that's when I was talking to God, and I was like, you know, you got to help me get through this. I can't do this on my own. You just kind of have to, you know, it's okay that I don't have any legs. It's going to be okay that you know, I can't do the stuff I used to do. It's okay that my husband doesn't love me anymore. You have to surrender and say, okay, this is life. My kids are fine. This is my life. Then now it's time to forget about the past and move on and make myself happy. It's hard at times. And God never said it'd be easy. He just said it'd be worth it. Okay, see, I've got my leg on. I can cross it like this and get me a red stiletto heel, and that'd pick me up all kinds of mess. My goal when I first did this was to walk on my left leg. There would be no chance of ever having a leg there. So I did some second guessing because I would have to walk with a walker and this leg, and I get along fine going 6 miles an hour everywhere.
The other thing with Susan's amputation, she's had so many skin grafts and so much adherent tissue that even with a lot of today's technology, we still couldn't overcome some of the discomfort and pain that she had.
Yeah, plus like I would just wear the liner sometimes and my skin would break, open up. Then it takes it like 2 weeks to heal, and then we'd have to start all over again. So it's, you know, I know it can be done, and maybe one day it will, but I've got other stuff that I'd rather do. I mean, I got other things to accomplish in life. This is my trainer, Brian, and he helps me work out, and he went right there.
Watch me the next 6. She's breathing.
Girl, that's awesome.
She's a hard worker. Every time that she comes here, she's dedicated, she's motivated, she doesn't miss any time when she comes in here, and she works as hard as she possibly can to achieve whatever goals we set during that week.
Susan's probably one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. Much less represented. It was a difficult case. It was a hard fight with Ford Motor Company that lasted 4 years. Just a lot of difficult circumstances that she has never seemed to let slow her down. And given what she's gone through, it makes it hard for you ever to complain about anything as a person, seeing somebody go through something like that.
If you want to hold a door, if you want to do this, and she'll tell you, no, I can do it. I can do it. I mean, that's just the way she wants to be, you know. But did I think back when this happened that she would get to a point to live alone, dress herself, take her own baths, cook, grocery shop, do all? I would have said, I don't know if she ever will, but she did. She does. So.
If my belt on this chair ever breaks, I'll be landing in my vegetable drawer in the refrigerator.
But we're all good now, and we're happy, and we really makes you really live life, you know, to the fullest every day. Or when I forget to, or I get sad, I just have to be thankful for, you know, everyone's still here, and that's what's really important.
So those kids, have their mom. I said, she may not have any legs. She may not be able to walk. She may have a gimpy arm, but they have their mama. And a mama's heart is a mama's heart.
I think what really strikes me is that no matter where she's at or how busy she is, if someone stops to observe, her state of no legs, she will sit there even with a child, and she'll explain to them what happened, and she'll even let her touch her legs and say, it's really okay.
I've noticed children, they stare, they'll turn. I tell them to come here, and I don't mind. I tell the parents, let me talk to them and explain what happened to me and why I look this way. I always say, the doctors had to take my legs off to save my life. And you always, always wear your seatbelt.
It's not a lighthearted subject, but she makes it lighthearted, so it makes it easier for us to deal with it in general.
What a blessing she was in my life to be able to see her and see how she handled this terrible tragedy. She just didn't seem to feel sorry for herself.
And Susan has been able to be an inspiration and an encouragement and a blessing to so many people that otherwise she really would never have been able to influence like she has.
Church, I thank them for making me feel so special and for giving to me and standing with me throughout this whole ordeal.
I get frustrated when someone parks in the handicap space when I'm meeting her or something like that. She goes, I'll just park over here, Richard, and wheel over. It doesn't bother her.
She's full of life. She was given a second chance, and she's going to make the most of it.
Seriously, just don't give up. Just keep going. I swear you'll make it until tomorrow, and then that day, that sucks, you'll make it to the next day. And I promise there's someone that cares, and if they don't care, get my mom's number, and I swear she'll have a phone call with you and let you know that it's going to be okay. Heck, she'll invite you over to stay for a week.
So, I'm Susan, and that's my story. I lost my legs. I lost the life I knew. But you know what? I love the life I have. It's not perfect, but whose is? It's easy to look back and say, what if? And wonder how things might be different. But looking back isn't going to get you anywhere. So, let me give you a little advice. Turn around, face the life you have still in front of you, and just roll with it.
Just knowing what she's been through, she's a strong person.
There's a huge reason for her, to still be here.
Very much laid back, easygoing, roll with the punches sort of attitude.
Nothing holds her back. She was willing to try and do anything, and if you said meet me at midnight on top of a building and it had a bunch of steps, she'd still find a way to get there.
Sting like a bee, float like a butterfly. You're not Ali, you're Subo.
I think she went above and beyond anybody's expectations.
She's a tough lady, that's all I can say.
She is a miracle. She's got more willpower than anybody I've ever seen.
I just think it wasn't her time. And so it was a blessing for all of us.
She's my hero.
There's a living hero for me. In all honesty, and that is Mrs. Bowman.
And considering everything that she's been through, both physically and emotionally and maybe mentally as well, I can't think of a stronger person that I know alive today, honestly.
The sky's the limit for Miss Susan. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she if she wasn't in that chair, she'd float.
That's my girl.
She's just giving out hope left and right everywhere she goes.
Angels were watching over her that day, and God's using her in amazing ways now.
She trusted us as her therapist, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with someone as wonderful as Susan Bowman.
Susan Bowman, without a doubt, is the most amazing woman I've ever met. And it's not just because of what she's already been through. It's because of what she still wants to do in spite of what she's gone through.
I think you're gonna be just fine. We're gonna have a big time up there. So anything you want to say before we go? Peace out. See you up there.
I did not know she went skydiving. They'd have to throw me out of the airplane.
No, I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she's braver than I am, because
I ain't jumping out of that.
No.
I don't even like getting on a ladder, much less jumping out of an airplane.
I did not know that. I'm glad I don't know that until now.
Why?
I'd probably had a heart attack thinking about that.
Would you do it?
I would do it. Well, my wife wouldn't let me, so what I want is irrelevant.
I did not know that. Really?
I would not go skydiving. That would scare me half to death. But I mean, here Susan is, and she'll try anything.
I thought she was crazy.
She called me after she got back on the ground because she knew I would probably have a heart attack.
And I said, God, I couldn't do that because I'm scared of height. I said, but Susan, she's just a little daredevil. She'll try anything, but not me, not I.
Amazing.
I could see her driving again and going places, but I never saw skydiving. Just amazed because I myself would never skydive, so.
I know, crazy. I would be a big chicken. I couldn't do it either.
Yeah, I was just shocked. I wanted to go with her and do it myself.
I've seen video of her jumping out of the airplane, so that's more than I would do.
Oh, I thought, oh my gosh.
Ooh, skydiving.
Ooh, skydiving.
Ooh.